Hello YouTube, this is ChardarYuGiOh here with a deck update for my skill drain hero deck profile, because it hasn't been done before. Anyway, I have one Stratos, 3 Alias, all the duck cards, 1 Elemental Hero Ocean. I originally started tagging this for its type and attribute to give me access to 0, but I've actually found myself using its effect recently. A lot of people were complaining about how we haven't had a slow format in a while, and you know what? This is a slow format that we're in. There's plenty of negation. There's plenty of stuff to slow down the game. Monsters, I've had this thing stick around long enough to use its effect. Usually I use it, if I've used Stratos, I can use it to get Stratos back and then get its effect. Generally just to blow up back row, which most people don't use Stratos for, but I've found it's been working very well for me, and I've been very happy for Ocean for its effect attribute, both its attribute and its effect. I cut it down to 2 Thunder King Ryo because it's just not as good this format. Doom Caliber Knight is surpassing Thunder King Ryo in every way, except that I need Thunder King Ryo because it's a light monster, it gives me more access to Shining, and honestly, Escuridao isn't good for anything except for a super poly target, and its effect is terrible, and anyone who tells you otherwise doesn't know heroes. Double Beast King Barbaros, just because Chaos Dragons are a huge threat now, and heroes have a very bad matchup against Chaos Dragons, and they have very, very few outs to Beast King Barbaros. Not to mention, it's basically it's an instant 3000 beater with skill drain on the field or with Monster Reborn, so it's just a very powerful card, and I think it's pretty good this format. I cut it down to 2 Effect Veiler. I still think 3 is very good, but it had been dead drawing me a lot, so I cut it down to 2 for preference. Especially because once I get skills right on the field, Veiler is completely dead except for a Shining target. And I'm still taking 1 Spirit Reaper, just because this card stops everything. Triple Gemini Spark. Double E-Call. 2 is dead for me a lot, so... No, 3 is dead for me a lot, so I cut it down to 2, and then Rhoda. 3 Duality, just the generic Searcher. This deck does not have to special summon every turn, and very rarely will it special summon outside of Shining or Blade Armor or Nixies. So Duality is very good in this deck. Triple Miracle Fusion, you don't want to open this. I don't want to have an opening hand with 2 of this, just because there's no monsters in the grave. It's either completely dead or a minus, but late game it's just too good not to run 3. Staples, 2 MST, Heavy, Dark Hole, Monster Reborn, and Book of Moon. I am still looking for an Ultra Book of Moon. I've been looking for one for months. If you have one, please, for the love of God, check my binder. Hero Blast, it's still dead at 2. I don't like it at 2, but at 1 it's just too good. It's a +1 chainable removal. I cut it down to 2 Skill Drain. Like Effect Veiler, it had been dead drawing me a lot, and I haven't really missed 2 at all. I haven't had any problems with 2. I haven't missed the 3rd. 2 Bottomless. It's too good with the Ignition ruling change. It's been changed for a while, but Bottomless is too good. 1 Torrential, 1 D-Prison. Again, this is for Chaos Dragons, because Chaos Dragons is the biggest threat right now, and banishing is so much more effective than just wiping the whole field for them to drop something else again. Then Double Warning and Judgment. So that is the main deck. Side deck, Double Max C. Windups are a huge threat. Well, they're not really a huge threat. Windups and Heretics, which I know Heretics aren't really meta, but they're still very popular at my locals. And Windups are always a threat, so I'm still side decking Max C. 2 Decree. With all my back row, these things are extremely dead for me in every matchup except Chainburn and Final Countdown, which is where I side these in. But if I'm playing against Chainburn and Final Countdown, I obviously don't need my back row really anyway. I side deck the 3rd MST for Dark Worlds and other decks that I would want a 3rd MST for. 2 Super Polys. I don't main this because it's a -1 and is dead against Chaos Dragons and Dark World, which are these decks' biggest threats. It's still very good against Dino Rabbit and Evols, which I know most people don't side for Evols, but it is a major threat at my locals, so I side the Super Polys. I side a 2nd D-Prison for Chaos Dragons, and I side a 2nd Torrential. Usually I use D-Prison and Torrential interchangeably based on what matchup I have, so that's been working out very well for me. I side deck a 3rd Skill Drain for Insectors and Windups, where I want to make sure I can get to it very consistently. 2 Snowman. This is just an amazing card for the format. Lets me go into absolute 0. more easily than just with Ocean, and it just boss monster removal. It gets over Ryo. It's a very good card. 2D to Crow for Dark World, Insector, and other graveyard dependent decks. Usually I cite this thing against Cast Dragons. Also, I don't think it's as good there as people give it credit for, but I still cite it against them because they are very graveyard dependent. And Shadow Imprisoning Mirror for Dark World. Well, and Insectors, but mostly Dark World because Insectors aren't a huge threat for heroes anyway. Then extra deck, Triple Shining. It's pretty basic. Double Nova Master. I'm going to take one out for a Gemnite Pearl when I get it. Absolute Zero. Gaia, Great Tornado. Dragonite, Draco Equus. I had this because Dragon Synchros were still a threat at my locals. We had like Dark Synchro decks, a lot of other Synchro based decks there, but I've been seeing a lot less of those lately, so unless Lavels become a severe threat, I'm probably going to cut this out when Escrow comes out. Then I have Utopia. I might take out one of these instead of the Draco Equus. I don't know yet. I'm still working on that. Maestroke. I did a whole video on this card and Utopia both, so I will link that in the description if you want to check that out. I think it's a pretty good video, and obviously I think it's a pretty good video. I made it. But Maestroke is amazing. Blade Armor Ninja. Go for OTKs and just push for game, and is just generally very annoying for the opponent. And one Utopia Ray. In case I have a dead Utopia that has no more materials, or I somehow gain control of one, which is possible. It's very... Who am I kidding? That's never going to happen. This is for if Utopia gets out of materials and I would need to save the beater. And I actually have used the effect before to get over stuff. It doesn't happen very often, but I'm glad I had it when I did. Anyway, that is the Skill Drain Hero deck, and peace out.